Well, the road to Qatar 2022 continues, and here's a look at the World Cup qualifying playoffs. There are 3 places remaining, and these are the 3 paths to get there. The winner of Wales and Austria will face the winner of Scotland and Ukraine. However, that match has been postponed until June due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Then Sweden and the Czech Republic will go head-to-head with the winner facing Poland, who are automatically through to the final as Russia has been suspended from all FIFA and UEFA competition. And then the final pathway C, you've got Italy and North Macedonia in one semi-final, and the winner will play the winner of Portugal and Turkey on March 29th. And for more on the upcoming qualifiers, our reporter Ben Jacobs joins us now. Ben, it's so good to see you. We're going to do a quick rip around and get everyone's thoughts and picks for each pathway. So I'll start with you here and Path A, Wales and Ukraine. It won't be played for a few more months now, but what are you expecting from this group and who do you favour to go through?
Well, first of all, Poppy, fun fact, if you merge all of the colours from the flags of the team in Path A, you actually exactly get my sweater. That's the starting point here. But on a serious note, obviously Scotland-Ukraine has been postponed, and that will allow Ukraine to work out what the best situation is, particularly for their players who are based out of Ukraine, but they've got a very strong squad, including Premier League players, the likes of Zinchenko at Manchester City, Yarmolenko, who's already scored a couple of emotional goals for West Ham United as well. So that one's a big task for Scotland, and there's clearly going to be pressure on John McGinn, and Billy Gilmour as well needs to continue his good form. But as far as Wales and Austria is concerned, which is a little bit more imminent, this one is a really intriguing matchup between 2 teammates and veterans. Gareth Bale, of course, coming up against his Real Madrid teammate David Alaba, and neither, amazingly, have made a World Cup before. The big question for Wales is going to be whether Bale is fit. He missed the El Clasico defeat, the heavy loss to Barcelona. Mixed reports, some say a back injury, others that he just wasn't feeling unwell. I understand that he is likely to be fine for the game, but will he be at 100%? That could be key. And again, pressure on another veteran in Aaron Ramsey, who's joined up with the Welsh squad after scoring his first goal for Rangers on Sunday since that move from Juventus. I think that Wales will have too much at home in that game. They are unbeaten in their last 16 home games. Their last defeat actually on home soil coming against Denmark all the way back in November 2018. And when they last played Austria, Wales also won at home in Cardiff by 1-0 as well. So I see Wales going through, and when they eventually play, I think that Scotland will also progress as well.
Maybe it's because I don't have the same sweater as Ben. I'm not going to agree in that one, but I'm going to go straight away to talk about Scotland against Ukraine. I think that all the things that are happening at the moment with the situation in Ukraine are not going to be very helpful to the team, because a lot of the players are not going to have the chance of being playing regularly. They are going to try to train in different situations. They're going to try to train in not in their home country. So I think that all those worries are going to be very hurtful to this team and in this occasion. And in my perspective, they are not going to be ready to perform in the way that they will expect, and probably they're going to be out just after the first game. So for me, I think the Scotland is going to be the one who's going to go through. And in the other side, like I was mentioning, I think Wales depend a lot, rely a lot on Gareth Bale, and he's not going to be ready. It has to be like this. We understand that he's a fantastic player, that is going to be important for the nation, but definitely he hasn't played at all in the whole season. I mean, he's been playing for quite a few minutes, and when you try to bring on that energy, the switch on the engine is not that easy. And I think that Austria had a fantastic group of stages. They are a very strong team, very capable of competing in the highest level, and I think they are going to have enough to beat. So I'm going for Austria and Wales in that occasion. So hopefully that's my prediction, and it's going to be right.
Well, the way that's going for you, Lucho, I think all of your predictions are going to be right. You've been crushing it in the Champions League in particular. When I look at that Scotland-Ukraine game, I think that this invasion is going to continue to linger and linger. I'll be really surprised if they end up playing that game in June. That's my humble opinion on that. I think Scotland will get into the final very similar to Poland, where they're going to get a pass to the final, and they're going to have to wait whenever that gets determined as they try to qualify for their first World Cup since 1998. And then I think it's just going to be an emotional matchup, because I have Wales going up, getting past Austria in the other one. Going to Cardiff to try to get a result, as Ben mentioned, very, very difficult to make that happen. Even if Gareth Bale doesn't play, they got got Harry Wilson, who plays at Fulham. They got Daniel James, who plays at Leeds. They got some young wingers. Both of those guys are 24 years old. They got a ton of energy, and I think they're going to want to make the most of this opportunity. Wales haven't qualified for a World Cup since 1958, but I do want to throw out there that when they did qualify for a Euro in 2016, I know they made it in 2020, but when they really had that core and that belief, they got to a semifinal. So they've shown that if they can get in, then they can be a bit of a danger team here. And I want to see Gareth Bale play. I think he wants to put a cherry on top of a pretty good career, even though he likes to play golf, I think, more than actually lace up his boots and play. But I think that it's going to be pretty emotional. We're going to see a Wales versus Scotland in that final. And I know Ian wants me to lean towards Scotland. I want to lean towards Scotland myself, but I think Wales might have a little bit more quality in that last game. But maybe I'll be proven wrong. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But this is a very interesting path, and I'm very curious to see which players and which teams are going to step up and make the plays when it matters most.
Yeah, Jimmy, clearly not been watching Steve Clarke's side because, of course, they would be favourites. Why wouldn't it be? It's Scotland after all. Listen, I'm really excited and looking forward to the ties. Obviously, I think the guys have touched upon it perfectly with Ukraine. We don't even know if they're going to get an opportunity to compete against Scotland in their path to try and get to the final. So I would imagine their minds will be elsewhere. Even though they were very good in the groups, they didn't lose a group game, Ukraine. And it's a tough one for Scotland. I really do believe that if they do compete against each other, because maybe you do find the togetherness and the chemistry and sort of willingness to try and compete against Scotland. But I just don't see it happening. And I actually think that there may be a possibility that this game doesn't even go ahead after all and Scotland moves on to the final. On the other side, it's very difficult. I agree. Obviously, both of you have gone different directions here. Austria have got some good players. We know that they're a dangerous side. They lost 4 games in their group stage, and that's a lot of games to be losing. But Arnautovic catches my attention. Zabitzer, Schaub, Kaladzic, they have a ton of talented players, and they do know how to score a goal. I think they've got too much for Wales, but I would love to see Wales go through. I'll support Jimmy on that. I'd love to see a Wales versus Scotland final because I think it would be a little bit easier for Scotland in that final game. However, I think Austria meet Scotland in the final.
All right, let's talk about pathway B then. Sweden against Czech Republic. The winner of that match will face Robert Lewandowski and Poland, who of course have that bye. So Ben, who do you favour going through out of this group?
I think the Czech Republic are going to struggle because they're without Patrick Schick, and as their top scorer and having been in form for club and country, club being Bayer Leverkusen, before he picked up a calf muscle injury in February, that is an absolutely massive blow, and Ian will know all about Patrick Schick from his antics against Scotland in competitive tournaments, and without him they just lack a bit of a cutting edge at the top. And then at the other end, there's a real problem because this is a Czech Republic side that play on the counter-attack. They get the ball in the channels. They like to take quick, direct shots, but fundamentally they are a defensive team, and they're pretty much without their first choice defence from the European Championship last year, and that includes the West Ham defender Vladimir Koufal. And as a consequence, I can't see them scoring too many, and I think that they will concede more than traditionally they do. Sweden are a well-organised side, and I think they've got the bit between their teeth because they should never have lost 2-0 to Georgia, which allowed Spain to top the group. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has, of course, been called up and may well play a pivotal role either as a starter or off the bench. But I think Sweden win this one in a narrow game. And then it's really interesting because they're up against Poland. Robert Lewandowski should be able to lead Poland past a Sweden side. But by not playing against Russia, I think that might work against the Poles because in this kind of format, knockout, the games are not two-legged. I'm not sure that it will help Poland not to play a game before that winner-takes-all final that they're already in for a place in Qatar. So I actually think that Sweden are going to find themselves in Doha and there'll be no Robert Lewandowski.
Well, finally, we can agree on something, Ben. That's fantastic. Good news. Totally true. I agree with you. Well, Poland, we know about Lewandowski, but I think it's not going to be enough. In the other side, between the Czech Republic and Sweden, Czech Republic has always been a team with a lot of talent, quality players. They can compete, but there is a lack of something over there. And I think after seeing Sweden competing in the group of Spain, I watch them every single game, and they are fantastic. It's a team with a lot of intensity, a lot of good talent. We got Forsberg, we got Isak, that is a fantastic striker, and he showed during the whole Euros. We got Klaassen in the other side. I think Kulusevski, that is going to be one of those special players who can bring something to the game. So I think that this Sweden team, in the moment that they can manage to try to be a little bit more organized at the back, not being so vulnerable they've been during the group stages, they can be a very, very difficult team to beat. So I'm going to go to Sweden to go through to after the first game and after Poland. So Sweden to go to the World Cup.
Okay, well, I hear what Ben's saying, and I'm hearing what Lucho's saying. And I'm going to agree with those guys. I think Sweden is going to do it as well. Czech Republic without Patrick Schick. He's got 20 goals in 20 games for Bayer Leverkusen this season. He got 17 goals in 33 games for his country. Him being out is a significant injury. I think so much goes through him. And then, as Ben said, Kufal being out is also a big loss for them. And the right back spot, him getting up and down the sideline, I think changes the perspective and how they attack and they defend. And they're without Yuri Paulenka, who is their starting goalkeeper. So they're missing 3 significant players, and I think that's going to be a little bit too much of an ask for them to get past the Sweden team, who's very good. My only question with Sweden then is, are they better without Zlatan Ibrahimovic? Because sometimes things get too much built around him. And when you have Alexander Isak, who's doing well for Real Sociedad and for Sweden, and then you have Kulusevski on one side and Anthony Elanga, who's doing very well for Manchester United, you got a pretty vibrant and young front three that I think can do some damage. Zlatan, everything revolves around him, and sometimes that's not always for the best. We're seeing that right now with Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United. Conversation for another time. And then with Poland, you know that Robert Lewandowski is going to score, or at least be a threat to score. But when I saw them in the group stages of Euro 2020, he had 3 goals in 3 games, but defensively, they just make mistakes. And I just think those mistakes are going to cost them at the highest level. I know it's only 90 minutes. Maybe they can see it out. But I think Sweden, much to what Ben and Lucho both said, have a little bit too much. So I like the Swedes to get through.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Ben initially for bringing up the fact that Patrick Schick scored against Scotland from the halfway line at the Euros. Thanks very much for that, Ben. I really appreciate that. And Lucho Garcia failing to mention that Sweden actually beat Spain in the group stage game. Am I wrong there? Did they beat Spain? Yeah, Klaassen did a good job in that game as well. And I think Isak was the other one who scored a goal. I think this is such a tasty group. I favour Poland to go all the way simply down to the fact that they don't have to compete against Russia. Ben thinks that it will work against them. I think it works for them. They do have some friendly games coming up, one in particular against Scotland, who are also not playing, obviously due to their tie being delayed. But I think that it should be a cracking final game. I have Sweden going all the way against Poland in that game. And I find it hard, very hard to bet against Lewandowski. I do like the Swedish side, though. Lucho is 100% right. This is a very talented group. There's a lot of youngsters in that Swedish side. They've had to obviously go back to their thinking after missing out on some major tournaments and create a new generation of young players. And they are very, very talented. And I would love to see them compete at the World Cup this year. But my heart and my desire is still to see Lewandowski compete at a World Cup. And I also think that Poland are doing a really good job, and there's a couple interesting players who are performing domestically here in the States with Buksa and Swiderski. Both of them really competitive in the group stages as well. Both of them scored 5 goals through the group stage, and Lewandowski leading the way with 8. Poland scored 30 from 10 group games. I find it difficult to stop them from scoring goals. But Sweden are a team that you have to be worried about. So I find it very close, but I still fancy Poland just a fraction.
I was going to say, it was not very often you go against Robert Lewandowski, is it? Let's talk about Pathway C then. Italy and North Macedonia, Portugal and Turkey. This is such a tough group. Ronaldo and Portugal, and then the European champions, Italy. And then 2 teams, Ben, that would love to spring a surprise and play spoiler. So from this tough group, who are you picking?
Everyone assumes, don't they, that it's going to be Ronaldo against the European champions. And if that's the case, it's Italy for me. Surely they're not going to miss back-to-back World Cups. But let's just take a little breather and a step back, because it's not a given that they just both end up in the final. Italy against North Macedonia, first of all. Let's not forget about a year ago in March 2021, North Macedonia beat Germany by 2-1. And the 2018 World Cup, they drew 1-1 with Italy in Turin, and they only lost at home due to a last-minute Immobile winner by 3-2. So that is a matchup that I do think Italy will come through, but it's going to be a lot tighter, and there's pressure on Bonucci and Chiellini in the centre of defence, and still question marks over whether they're both fit. And then João Pedro, are we going to see him? He's got his first call-up in place of Mario Balotelli. And I'm not so sure that that's the right decision, because if you're going to bring Balotelli back to the Italy setup, I think you do it against North Macedonia, so he's bedded in before the final game. And I think that Pedro being called up in his place could well backfire, but I do think they'll beat North Macedonia. And then Portugal are up against a Turkey side that have been a little bit hit and miss over the last 18 months. But in fairness, they're unbeaten under Stefan Kuntz since September. Portugal have won all 5 competitive meetings between these two sides. And Burak Yilmaz, at the age of 36, trying to get to his first World Cup, is going to have to do something very, very special. Otherwise, Ronaldo and Portugal will go through. So for me, it's Portugal against Italy. And then in that matchup, it's Italy that mean that there'll be no Ronaldo in Doha and no Lewandowski in Doha either. So let's just hope that Ibra at least gets there. So we've got some of the star names.
Why are you killing the big guys? Why are you trying to put them away? Yes, well done, Ben. Well done. I think that it could be possible that, because it's very difficult to try to pick from those giants, Italy and Portugal. In my occasion, I like that you tried to put a little bit of pressure with North Macedonia against Italy, but I think there is no way that Italy is going to miss any chance of not being in the final against Portugal. So I'm going to go straight away with Italy going to Portugal. And in that occasion, I thought in the beginning where we did this for the first time, quite a couple of months ago, I was convinced that Italy was going to beat Portugal in this occasion, in this final. But as the time goes forward and the players from Portugal start getting that confidence on the field, we are talking about Diogo Jota, we are talking about Bernardo Silva, we are talking about Joao Felix, amazing players. They are getting minutes, they are scoring goals, they are assisting, they are being important in their leagues. I think the Portugal has got just too much. I was just checking a little bit about the squad of Portugal with Renato in the middle of the park, and with that connection that they can have also with Cristiano Ronaldo, that of course if you want to make anything to try to be once again in that World Cup, I think that Portugal has got too much talent against this Italy that is going to miss Chiesa after having that surgery and being away for quite a while. So in my opinion, I think the Portugal is going to go through, and we're going to see the big Cristiano Ronaldo playing in the World Cup once again.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with Lucho here, not only for all the attacking talent that Portugal have. I mean, they're in a golden generation, and that's with Cristiano Ronaldo getting a little bit older here, but also defensively. You got Ruben Diaz, who plays for Man City, Joao Cancelo, who's fantastic for both club and country, and I just think they're solid from the front all the way to the back. And if they're up for it, if they're focused and ready to go, I don't really see how any team can beat them, including a very good Italy team, with all due respect to Turkey, especially Enes Unal, who has scored a ton of goals this particular season for Getafe. He's been fantastic, 14 goals in La Liga. Then when I look at what's happening with North Macedonia without the ageless wonder Goran Pandev, who's been their captain for many years, he's got 38 goals and 122 caps. He retired after the Euros. I just don't think they have that special playmaker that can change a game by himself. So I think Italy are going to make it tight, because that's what Italy do. The teams they should beat, they seem only to beat them 1-0. They always make it harder on themselves than they should. They didn't look good at Italy when they didn't have a number 9 in the Nations League semifinal against Spain. There was no Immobile. They had Bernardeschi starting. Then the third place game against Belgium, they had Raspadori starting. But Ciro, the hero Immobile, comes back into the team. Without Chiesa, they got Berardi, who's been fantastic for Sassuolo. But I think when it gets to that final between Portugal and Italy, I think the fine margins are going to go Portugal's way. And I could see CR7 scoring the winner that sends them to the World Cup.
Oh, you guys are confusing me a lot here. This one's a very, very difficult one. Of course, we all want to see Italy versus Portugal. I mean, that is a final in itself right there. I mean, that is a proper final. You got two great squad, two great nations, great supporters, all going head-to-head in a competition that gets you to a World Cup. One of these giant nations are going to miss out. Some talented players are going to miss out on a World Cup, which is desperately disappointing. But Italy find themselves in this position after disappointing in that final group game against Switzerland, where I thought they should have taken care of business. They had multiple opportunities to take care of business, and they couldn't get it done. Absolutely dominated that game. But I was a bit frustrated with them. However, they didn't lose a group game through qualifying, and that inspires me to believe that they are still very tough to score goals against. Lucho makes a great point on this Portugal squad, because when I'm doing my research for this, I'm looking at Italy and I'm thinking favourites, no doubt. Their history, good squad, very good coach. They've just recently had success in Euros, and I find it very difficult to bet against Italy at any time. But then I look at this roster that Portugal have, and Lucho's just said a few names there, and I just think, wow, what a generation they have. And it's not Cristiano Ronaldo you're focusing on with this Portugal squad. It's all of the young, talented players who are pretty much hitting their prime right now that would be disastrous for Portuguese football if they were to miss out. So I'm going to go for Portugal. No, I'm going to go for Italy. No, wait a minute. I'm going to go for Portugal. I don't care, actually, who goes through. I don't care about this one. I'm going to say I hope the best team goes through from this one because it's very difficult to pick a winner. I really do find it tough.
It is so close, isn't it? We could see Italy miss a second consecutive World Cup, or we could see Ronaldo miss a World Cup in what is likely to be his last World Cup, or we could see neither of them in Qatar. It is all to play for. 11 teams vying for only 3 places. International break is upon us, and it is all to play for as the road to Qatar continues.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.